The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council sparkled with lights that reflected off the polished marble floors. Representatives from over 3,000 species filled the room, their bodies of all shapes and sizes occupying specially designed seats. Some floated in liquid tanks, others hovered in anti-gravity fields, and many sat on cushioned chairs adapted to their unique anatomies. Among them was one seat that remained empty. It was simple in design, made for a bipedal creature of moderate height. The nameplate in front of it read Human Republic in the common galactic script. No one had sat there for 50 years. High Chancellor Zorax, an ancient Praximian with pale blue skin and 3 sets of eyes, tapped his ceremonial staff 3 times on the floor. The sound echoed through the massive chamber, and the buzzing conversations died down. "I call to order the 500th meeting of the Galactic Council," Zorax said, his voice amplified by the room's perfect acoustics. "As tradition dictates, we will begin with the roll call of member species." A holographic assistant appeared in the center of the room and began calling out the names of member civilizations. Representatives raised tentacles, claws, wings, or other appendages to signal their presence. "Human Republic," the assistant called out. Silence followed. No hand was raised. The empty chairs seemed to grow more noticeable. "Human Republic," the assistant repeated, following protocol. Again, silence. Some of the younger representatives looked confused. The older ones exchanged nervous glances. "The record will show the Human Republic absent for the 50th consecutive year," Zorax said. His voice carried a weight that the younger members couldn't understand. Ambassador Krell, a vexoid with green scales and compound eyes, leaned toward his aide. "The humans are just a myth the elders use to scare young ones," he whispered. Zorax's middle set of eyes turned toward Krell. "The humans were very real, Ambassador, and their absence should concern us all." The meeting continued with discussions of trade routes, border disputes, and resource allocations, but the empty human chair cast a shadow over the proceedings. Later that evening, Zorax stood alone on a balcony overlooking the capital city. The 3 moons of Galaxia Prime cast silver light over the towers and domes. "You're thinking about them again, aren't you?" a voice asked from behind him. Zorax didn't turn. "I remember the day the representative, William Harris, stood before us, Trell. I remember his exact words." Archivist Trell, a small gray being with large dark eyes, moved to stand beside the High Chancellor. Many believed it was a bluff. "It was no bluff," Zorax said quietly. "They gathered their ships, their people, and every piece of their technology. And they left." "But why?" Trell asked. "No species has ever voluntarily left the Council." Zorax closed all 6 of his eyes briefly. Harris said only, "We wish you all well. You may need it." Then he walked out. That was the last time any council member saw a human. A shooting star crossed the night sky, burning bright before fading. "The humans knew something," Zorax continued. "They tried to warn us, but we wouldn't listen. We thought they were being paranoid or trying to gain political advantage." "Do you think they'll ever come back?" Trell asked. "I don't know, but I've been monitoring the old human territories. Something is happening out there." "What do you mean?" "Equipment left in their abandoned outposts is activating. Energy readings are spiking. After 50 years of silence." Trell's large eyes widened. "Self-activating. That's impossible. The humans had technology we never fully understood," Zorax said. "And now I fear we're about to learn why they left." A distant alarm began to sound from the council chambers. Zorax straightened his robes. "What is that?" Trell asked, alarmed. "Emergency session alert," Zorax said, already moving toward the door. "A border colony has gone silent." "Which one?" "Proxima V. It's on the edge of what used to be human space." As they hurried back to the council chambers, neither of them spoke the thought that hung in the air. The humans had departed, and perhaps they had known the council would be doomed without them. Councillor Nera walked through the quiet halls of the Galactic Archives. Her blue skin glowed faintly in the dim light as she ran her six-fingered hand along the rows of data crystals. Each crystal contained the history of a member species, preserved for all time. She stopped at a section marked with the human symbol, a circle with lines extending outward like rays of a sun. The human data crystals had a thin layer of dust on them. Few people came to this section anymore. "I thought I might find you here," said a raspy voice. Nara turned to see Archivist Trell shuffling toward her. The small gray being looked tired, his large eyes blinking slowly. "The emergency session ended 3 hours ago," Trell said. "Yet here you are, looking at human records." "Something doesn't make sense," Nara said. "The Council is treating Proxima V's silence as a technical failure, but I heard High Chancellor Zorax mention human technology activating." Trell looked around to make sure they were alone. "What do you know about humans, young one?" "Only what everyone knows. They were bipedal mammals who joined the Council 200 years ago and mysteriously left 50 years back." Trell reached up and selected a data crystal from the shelf. It glowed with a soft blue light when he touched it. "This contains Admiral Daniel Matthews' final address to the human fleet," Trell said. "It was sealed by Council order, but as archivist, I have access." He inserted the crystal into a nearby viewing station. A hologram appeared, showing a human male in a dark uniform with silver markings on the shoulders. "This will be my final transmission as Admiral of the Earth Defense Fleet," the human said. "Our sensors have confirmed what Dr. Laura Bennett discovered 3 years ago. They are coming, and they are hungry. The Council refuses to believe us, but we know the truth. We have no choice but to implement Protocol Exodus. May those we leave behind forgive us." The hologram faded. Nara stared at the empty space where it had been. "What was he talking about?" she asked. "Who is coming?" "I don't know," Trell admitted, "but there's more." He selected another crystal. "This is from a week before the human departure." A new hologram appeared, showing a female human with light brown skin and hair pulled back tightly. "The structures on Proxima V are complete," the woman said. "If our calculations are correct, they should activate when the first wave arrives. I hope it's enough to warn them, even if they won't listen to us now." The hologram disappeared. "Proxima V," Nara whispered. "The same colony that went silent today." A loud beeping sound came from Trell's communication device. He checked it, and his gray skin paled. "The Council has sent an investigation team to Proxima V," he said. "They're broadcasting now." They rushed to the main viewing room of the archives. Several other curious workers had gathered around a large screen. On it, they could see a team in protective suits walking through a colony street. "There are no bodies," a voice reported. "No signs of violence. The buildings are intact, but every living thing is changed." The camera panned to show what looked like statues of colonists frozen in everyday poses. But they weren't statues. They were crystalline structures, glittering in the light. "They've been transformed into some kind of crystal," the investigator said, his voice shaking. "Wait, we're picking up a signal." The camera moved to show a small device with a human symbol on it. It was pulsing with light. "It's an old human emergency beacon," someone said. "It's broadcasting a message in an Earth language." "Can we translate it?" asked another voice. There was a pause, then, message translated. It says, "They are coming. This is only the beginning." A chill ran through the viewing room. "The humans knew," Nara said quietly. "They knew this would happen." Trell nodded grimly. "And now we need to know what else they knew. Come with me. There's a sealed section of the archives that contains human scientific records." As they hurried through the archives, Trell's communication device beeped again. "What now?" Nara asked. Trell read the message and looked up with fear in his large eyes. "2 more colonies have gone silent," he said. "Whatever this is, it's spreading." The investigation team on Proxima V moved carefully through the crystallized colony, their protective suits crinkled with each step. Investigator Lear, a tall Gataran with 6 limbs and scaled skin, approached what had once been the colony's main control center. "Be careful," warned his assistant through the communication system. "We don't know if the crystallization process is still active." "Scan everything," Lyra ordered. "Look for any more human devices." The team spread out through the building. The interior was just like the outside. Everything organic had been turned to crystal. Plants, animals, and people were now beautiful but lifeless crystalline structures. "Sir," called one of the team members, "I found something." Lyra moved to where the investigators stood in front of a sealed door. Unlike the rest of the colony, this door showed no signs of crystallization. "What is it?" Lyra asked. "It's a human-designed security vault," the team member explained. "It seems to have protected whatever is inside from the crystallization effect." Lyra examined the control panel beside the door. There was a human symbol engraved above it, the same sunburst pattern they had seen on the emergency beacon. "Can we open it?" he asked. "The system is still operational," said the team member, "but it requires authorization." Lyra hesitated, then pressed his hand against the panel. To his surprise, the panel lit up green and the door slid open. "It recognized you?" his assistant asked, confused. "No," Lyra said. "It was programmed to open now, after 50 years. Inside the vault was a small room with a single table. On the table sat a datapad with the name Governor Allen West printed on it. Lyra picked it up carefully and activated it. A hologram appeared above the pad. It showed a human male with dark hair and a worried expression. "If you're seeing this message, then they have arrived," the human said. "My name is Allen West, Governor of Proxima V. The human government warned us about the crystalline entities, but the Colony Council voted to deactivate the defense systems, believing the threat wasn't real." The hologram flickered. "We were wrong. So terribly wrong. The defense beacons established by Admiral Steve Collins would have protected us. We shut them down, thinking they were wasteful. A precaution against a myth." Governor West looked over his shoulder, as if hearing something. "There's no time left. The entities are already in the colony. Science officer Talia Patel discovered they're drawn to carbon-based life. They transform organic matter into crystalline structures to feed on the released energy. They're not malicious. They're just hungry." He reached toward the recording device. The human exodus wasn't abandonment. It was strategy. They left to draw the entities away from populated space. They sacrificed themselves for us, and we mocked them for it. If anyone finds this, reactivate the human defense network. The instructions are in this datapad. It may be the only chance the galaxy has left. The hologram disappeared. Lyra stood in silence, holding the datapad. "Sir," his assistant said softly, "what do we do with this information?" Before Lyra could answer, their communication devices activated. High Chancellor Zorax's voice came through. "Investigation team, return to your ship immediately," Zorax ordered. "We have reports of 7 more colonies going silent. The Council is calling an emergency session." Lyra carefully secured the data pad in his equipment pouch. "We're on our way, Chancellor, and we have critical information from the human governor." "What kind of information?" Zorax asked. Lyra looked around at the crystallized room. "The humans didn't abandon us. They were trying to save us." As the team hurried back to their ship, Lyra noticed something in the sky above the colony. Tiny sparkling motes, almost like dust, drifting down from space. "Move faster," he ordered his team. "They're still here." The investigation team reached their ship just as the first crystalline dust particles touched the ground behind them. The particles began to spread, searching for any remaining life to transform. As their ship blasted off from Proxima V, Lyra stared at the datapad. The future of the galaxy might depend on what the humans had left behind. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives shouted over each other as reports of more crystallized colonies appeared on the main screen. High Chancellor Zorax struck his staff against the floor 3 times, but the noise barely decreased. Silence, He finally shouted, his voice amplified by the chamber systems. The room gradually quieted. "We face an unprecedented crisis," Zorax said. 9 colonies have now been crystallized. Our scientists have no explanation, but we have recovered evidence that the humans knew about this threat. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The empty human chairs seemed to draw all eyes. "I propose we unseal the classified human archives," Zorax continued. "All information about their departure and their technology must be examined." Ambassador Krell stood up. "This is an overreaction. These incidents could be natural phenomena or even the result of human weapons left behind. We cannot trust their secrets. The data pad recovered from Proxima V suggests otherwise," Zorax replied. "The humans were trying to protect us." The council erupted into arguments again. Counselor Nara watched from her seat, then quietly slipped out of the chamber. She made her way back to the archives, where Archivist Trell was waiting. "The council will debate for hours," she said. "We don't have that kind of time." Trell nodded and led her to a hidden door at the back of the archives. "This section has been sealed for 50 years, since the human departure." He placed his hand on a scanner, and the door slid open to reveal a room filled with human data storage devices. Unlike the rest of the archives, these weren't neat crystals but bulky metal boxes with blinking lights. "Human technology," Trell explained. "They insisted on keeping their own backup systems even after joining the council." He approached one of the devices and pressed a sequence of buttons. A screen lit up, requesting identification. "How do we access it?" Nora asked. "The investigation team sent me the access codes from Governor West's datapad," Trell said as he entered the code. The screen changed, showing hundreds of file names. Trell selected one labeled Crystal Entity First Contact, Dr. Nicole Carter. A video appeared, showing a human female with light-colored hair pulled back from her face. She looked tired. "This is Research Log 42, she said. "We've confirmed the crystalline organisms originated from the void between galaxies. They travel as dormant spores until they detect carbon-based life forms. Then they activate and begin their feeding cycle." She showed images of small crystal formations growing on plant samples. The entities convert organic matter into crystalline structures, releasing energy they can absorb. They're not malevolent. They're just following their biological imperative, but they will consume all life in the galaxy if left unchecked. The video shifted to show a larger recording. A different human, a male with dark skin wearing a uniform with Security Director Kevin Ross, on a name tag, was speaking to a room full of humans. "The council refuses to believe our evidence," he said. "They think we're trying to gain political advantages or resources, so we implement Plan Exodus. All human colonies will be evacuated. Earth itself will be emptied. We will lead the crystal entities away from the populated sectors of the galaxy." Nara gasped. "They left to save everyone else." The video continued with Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez addressing the human assembly. "We've hidden defense systems throughout council space. When the entities arrive, these systems will activate. They emit a frequency that disrupts the crystalline structure. It won't destroy the entities, but it will slow them down." "That explains the beacons," Trell said. "The humans left behind protection for species that mocked them." The final part of the video showed a massive fleet of human ships. "The evacuation fleet is ready," Ross said. "We don't know if we'll survive, but we know the council species will die if we stay. Some volunteers will remain behind to maintain the defense network. The rest of us will draw the entities away. We're leaving warning beacons that will activate when the entities arrive. I pray the council listens this time." As the video ended, Trell's communication device beeped urgently. "It's from Zorax," he said, reading the message. "The council has voted to unseal the human archives." "Too late," Nara said softly. "The entities are already here." A sharp alarm blared through the Galactic Council station. Red emergency lights flashed in every corridor. Counselor Nara and Archivist Trell rushed from the archives toward the main control room. What's happening? Nara asked a passing security officer. Crystal entities detected near the station, the officer replied, hurrying past. In the control room, High Chancellor Zorax stood surrounded by screens showing small glittering particles approaching the space station. How long do we have? Zorax asked a technician. At current speed, they will reach us in approximately 2 hours, the technician answered. Zorax turned as Nara and Trell entered. Did you find anything useful in the human archives? Yes, Nara said. The humans built defense systems. They hid them throughout Council space. Where are they? Zorax demanded. How do we activate them? Before Nara could answer, one of the screens changed. A red dot appeared in the space around the station. Then another, and another. Soon, dozens of red dots surrounded the station. What are those? Ambassador Krell asked, pointing at the screen. The technician checked his readings. Unknown objects. They were hidden in the asteroid field near the station. They're powering up. Suddenly, all the screens in the control room flickered. A human face appeared. A male with gray hair and a serious expression. He wore a uniform with the name Admiral John Reeves visible on the chest. This is an automated message from the Human Defense Network, the recording said. Crystal entity incursion detected. Defensive measures initiating. All non-human species should move to designated safe zones marked on your navigation systems. The screens returned to normal. The technician looked at his control panel in shock. The objects are emitting some kind of energy field, he said. It's creating a barrier between us and the crystal entities. On the main screen, they watched as the glittering particles slowed when they hit the invisible barrier. The particles tried to move forward but seemed unable to penetrate the field. The humans did this. Ambassador Krell asked, his earlier skepticism gone. Yes, Trell said. They left behind protection for all of us. Another screen activated. This time it showed a different human, a woman with dark hair tied back from her face. Engineer Maria Garcia, defense system architect, appeared at the bottom of the screen. If you are seeing this message, the primary defense system has activated, she said. This will hold the entities back temporarily, but it is not a permanent solution. The entities will eventually adapt. The recording continued. Hidden throughout your space are manufacturing facilities. They contain blueprints for weapons effective against the entities. The facilities are keyed to recognize all Council species biometrics. You will need to work together to operate them. The screen displayed a map showing locations marked across Council space. The closest facility is in the Xalos system, Nara noted. That's only 2 days' travel from here. High Chancellor Zorax turned to the communications officer. Send ships to each facility location immediately. Priority 1 clearance. There's more, Trell said, holding up a data pad he had brought from the archives. According to these records, the humans found evidence that the crystal entities come from a dimensional rift. They were developing technology to seal the rift permanently. Did they complete it? Zorax asked. We don't know, Nara admitted. The records show they were still working on it when they departed. On the main screen, the barrier created by the human defense system glowed brightly as more crystal entities gathered against it. The station shuddered slightly. The barrier is holding, but power levels are dropping, the technician reported. Estimated failure in 28 hours. Zorax looked at the empty human chair in the council chamber, visible through the control room window. For 50 years, we thought they abandoned us, he said quietly. But they were preparing. They were giving us a chance. He turned to face the gathered council members. We have 28 hours to reach the manufacturing facility and find a way to strengthen the defenses. The humans gave us the tools to survive. Now we must learn to use them. As everyone rushed to prepare, Nara looked back at the screen showing the human defense system holding back the tide of crystalline death. She wondered if the humans who built it had survived their own desperate flight. The council ship Stellar Hope raced through space toward the Xalos system. On the bridge, High Chancellor Zorax. Counselor Nara, and a team of scientists watched the stars streak by. 18 hours until the defense barrier fails, a crew member reported. We should reach the manufacturing facility in 10 hours. That gives us little time to figure out how to use the human technology, Zorax said. Nara studied the data pad containing human records. According to these files, the facility is hidden inside an asteroid. It was designed to remain dormant until needed. The ship's pilot interrupted. Chancellor, we're picking up a strange signal. It's coming from Salos 4, a planet the charts mark as uninhabitable. What kind of signal? Zorax asked. It's an old communication frequency. Human design. Zorax and Nara exchanged looks. Change course, Zorax ordered. Take us to Xalos 4. The stellar Hope altered its path and soon approached a small rocky planet with a thin atmosphere. From orbit, it looked lifeless. Scan the surface, Zorax commanded. The crew ran the scans. One of them gasped. Sir, there's a settlement on the surface. Environmental domes. And life signs. Human life signs, Nara whispered, looking at the readings. Zorax stood straighter. Prepare a landing party. Counselor Nara, you're with me. Soon, a small shuttle descended to the planet's surface. It landed near a cluster of domes connected by tunnels. As the council members stepped out in protective suits, a door in the nearest dome slid open. A figure stood there, clearly human. Well, said the human, a male with graying hair. Took you long enough. 50 years, in fact. The human led them inside the dome, where they could remove their protective gear. Inside was a small but efficient base with about 20 humans moving about. I'm Dr. Frank Miller, the human said. Welcome to the last human outpost in Council space. How? Nara asked, amazed. We thought all humans left. Most did, Dr. Miller explained. But some of us stay behind to maintain the defense network and serve as a communication relay. He led them to a central room filled with screens showing data from across the galaxy. Red spots marked the spread of the crystal entities. We've been monitoring the situation, said another human, a female introduced as Commander Susan Taylor. When the entities first arrived, we activated the defense systems. Why didn't you contact the Council sooner? Zorax asked. Dr. Miller's expression hardened. Would you have listened? Your people dismissed our warnings for years. We decided to wait until you had no choice but to believe. Fair enough, Zorax admitted. But now we need your help. The barrier around our station is failing. A younger human, introduced as Engineer Kim Davis, looked up from a control panel. We know. We've been boosting the power remotely, but it's a temporary fix. You need weapons that can actually fight the entities. The manufacturing facility, Nara asked. Is right here, Dr. Miller said, pointing downward. This outpost sits above it. We've been preparing since we detected the first entity signatures 3 months ago. Commander Taylor brought up a holographic display showing strange devices. These disruptors break down the crystalline structure. They won't kill the entities, but they'll force them back to a dormant state. We can start production immediately, Engineer Davis added. But we need certain materials from your ship. You'll have everything you need, Zorax promised. He hesitated, then asked the question that had been bothering him. Why did you stay behind? Your people could have escaped with the rest. Dr. Miller exchanged glances with the other humans. Someone had to remain to give the rest of you a fighting chance. We volunteered. Sacrificing yourselves for species that didn't believe you, Nara said softly. Dr. Miller shrugged. That's what humans do. We look out for each other. All of us, even those who aren't human. High Chancellor Zorax bowed deeply in the human custom of respect. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I thank you, and I apologize for our blindness. Save the thanks for later, Commander Taylor said, checking the screen with flashing warnings. The entities are adapting faster than we expected. We need to get to work now. As the humans began organizing the defense effort, Zorax realized with surprise that for the first time in 50 years, he felt something like hope. The Galactic Council chamber was filled to capacity. Representatives from all member species watched as High Chancellor Zorax presented the human-designed weapons. These disruptor devices will force the crystal entities back into a dormant state, Zorax explained. The human outpost on Salos IV has provided us with the technology and manufacturing instructions. Ambassador Krell stood up. Why should we trust this human technology? Their departure caused this crisis in the first place. That is incorrect, said a voice from the entrance. Dr. Frank Miller walked into the chamber, followed by Commander Susan Taylor. The council members gasped at the sight of actual humans. We did not cause the crystal entities, Dr. Miller said calmly. We discovered them. We tried to warn you. When you refused to listen, we made the difficult choice to leave in order to draw them away from populated space. The crystal entities are attracted to large concentrations of carbon-based life. Commander Taylor added, Earth and our major colonies represented the largest such concentrations in this sector of the galaxy. By evacuating, we hoped to lead the entities away from Council space. But it didn't work, Ambassador Krell said. No, Dr. Miller admitted. The entities are more numerous than we calculated. Some followed our Exodus fleet, but others detected your worlds. Counselor Nera stood up. The humans left defense systems to protect us. Now they've returned to help us fight. We should be grateful, not suspicious. The council erupted into arguments. Some representatives supported using the human technology, while others feared it would make the situation worse. High Chancellor Zorax struck his staff on the floor. Enough. We have no time for debate. 14 more colonies have been crystallized. The entities have broken through 3 defense barriers. We must act now. He turned to Dr. Miller. What do you suggest? Dr. Miller activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. It showed a strange ripple in space. This is the dimensional rift where the entities are coming from, he explained. We believe they exist in a crystalline dimension that occasionally connects with our space. When that happens, they cross over seeking energy. Can we close the rift? Zorax asked. Possibly, said Engineer Kim Davis, joining the humans. Before the Exodus, we were developing a dimensional seal device. The research continued on our evacuation fleet. We received a transmission from them 3 days ago. She activated another hologram showing complex schematics. This is the completed design for the seal device, she said. With your help, we can build it. How long will it take? Nora asked. 2 weeks, Engineer Davis replied. But the entities will reach the Council homeworlds in 10 days. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. So we're doomed anyway, Ambassador Krell said bitterly. Not necessarily, Commander Taylor interjected. If we can slow their advance using the disruptor weapons, we can buy enough time to complete the seal device. It would require a coordinated defense, Dr. Miller added. Every available ship equipped with disruptors, forming blockades at strategic points. Zorax looked around the chamber at the representatives of thousands of species. This will require full cooperation from all council members. We must set aside our differences and work together. One by one, the representatives stood. Even Ambassador Krell eventually rose to his feet. For the survival of all, Zorax said, using an ancient council pledge. For the survival of all, the representatives echoed. As the council members rushed to organize their defense forces, Counselor Nera approached Dr. Miller. Will it be enough? She asked quietly. Dr. Miller watched the busy chamber. The human Exodus fleet is fighting the entities on the other front. We received word that they've developed even better weapons, if they can push back from their side while we seal the rift from ours. He didn't finish the sentence. They both knew the odds were slim. Why would you do this for us? Nora asked. After we dismissed your warnings. Dr. Miller smiled slightly. That's a very human question. And the answer is very human too, because it's the right thing to do. As they left the chamber to begin preparations, Emergency alerts sounded. On the main screen, they saw another colony falling to the crystal tide. The race against extinction had begun. Explosions lit up space as Council ships fired disruptor weapons at the advancing crystal entities. For 9 days, the combined fleet had held the line, protecting the core worlds while the dimensional seal device was being constructed. On the Council station, High Chancellor Zorax watched the battle from the command center. Beside him, Counselor Nera monitored the casualty reports. "We've lost 23 more ships," she said grimly. "The southeastern defense line is weakening. Redirect ships from the northern sector," Zorax ordered. "We must hold for 1 more day." Dr. Frank Miller entered the command center, looking exhausted. For over a week, he and the other humans had worked without rest, coordinating the defense and helping build the seal device. "The device is at 94% completion," he reported. "Engineer Davis needs a few more hours." "We may not have hours," Zorax said, pointing to the main screen. A massive wave of crystal entities had broken through one of the defense lines and was moving toward the station. "The disruptors are becoming less effective," Nera observed. "The entities are adapting." The station shuddered as the first entities reached its outer shields. The humans' defensive barrier activated, but warning lights flashed across control panels. "Barrier integrity at 60% and falling," a technician reported. Dr. Miller checked his communication device. "We need more time." The seal device. He was interrupted by a sudden beeping from his device. He looked at it, his expression changing from worry to surprise. "It's a transmission," he said, "from deep space, from the human Exodus fleet." "Put it on screen," Zorax ordered. The main screen flickered, then showed the face of an older human male in a uniform. "This is Fleet Admiral Jason Mitchell of the human Exodus fleet to any receivers in Council space. We've reached our designated safe location and established a new colony. We're preparing to execute the final phase of our plan." The image showed a massive fleet of human ships surrounding what appeared to be a tear in space, another dimensional rift. "Our science division has developed a redirector device," Admiral Mitchell continued. "We're going to use it to connect the rift near our position to the one in Council space. When activated, it will pull all crystal entities through to our location, where we have prepared a trap." Commander Susan Taylor rushed into the command center. "The seal device is ready, but we need to get it closer to the rift." Zorax turned to her. "Your people are creating a connection between rifts. Will that affect our plan?" "It changes everything," she said, studying Admiral Mitchell's transmission. "If they redirect the entities, we can seal both rifts simultaneously." The station shook more violently as more entities attacked the barrier. "Barrier at 40%, the technician called out. Dr. Miller looked at his device again. "We're receiving coordinates for the rendezvous point after the crisis. And a message." "What does it say?" Nora asked. "We'll leave the lights on for you," Dr. Miller read, a small smile forming on his tired face. The screen shifted to show Communications Officer Claire Wilson, a young human woman. "This isn't goodbye," she said. "This is just until we meet again. Stand by for countdown to redirector activation." As the countdown began, the command center crew watched in amazement. The crystal entities around the station suddenly stopped attacking. They began to move away, drawn by an invisible force toward the rift. "They're being pulled to the human location," Nera said in wonder. "Launch the seal device now," Zorax ordered. The station's main launcher fired, sending the device toward the rift. As it approached, the rift began to pulse with energy. "Redirector activated," came Admiral Mitchell's voice. "Entities are converging on our position. Trap is set." The seal device reached the rift and activated, sending out waves of blue energy. On the screen, they could see the human fleet deploying their own seal device at the second rift. "Sealing in 3, 2, 1. Admiral Mitchell counted down. Both rifts flashed brilliantly, then began to shrink. The remaining crystal entities were pulled through before the rifts closed completely. The command center erupted in cheers. Zorax turned to Dr. Miller, who was watching the screen with tears in his eyes. "Your people didn't abandon us," Zorax said quietly. "You saved us all." Dr. Miller nodded. "And now we'll be coming home. All of us." On the screen, Admiral Mitchell smiled. "See you soon, neighbors. This time, maybe you'll listen when we talk."